Hey guys, it's Brittany. For those that don't know, I've been married for just over a year to my husband Bryce, and we had to do a wedding on a budget. And I know a lot of families and brides need to do a wedding on a budget as well. Now, I'm no wedding planning expert. I've only done my own. However, there were some cool tips and tricks that I figured out along the way that I thought other people maybe are wedding planning it might be interested in. So yeah, maybe my tips won't be helpful for you because your wedding's going to be completely different than ours. That's okay. We actually decided to do a very small wedding, so we only had about 80 to 90 people, and we prefer a more intimate, smaller setting. And we did the wedding ceremony at a small church, and then about 2 miles down the road, we did our reception at a family member's house who had a barn. So we had the food in the barn, we had the reception out in a tent outside, and the weather was absolutely perfect. This was something I was really nervous about, to be completely honest, because I didn't have a plan B for my reception. Do not recommend. So if we had like tornado weather, it wouldn't have worked out. But we did have a tent and a barn, so if it was just raining, it would have been okay. But yeah, it was a beautiful day. It was end of July, so we were prepared for it to be like pretty hot. 70s, I think it was 74 that day. So anyway, we couldn't have asked for a better wedding and reception. It just went perfectly. And anyway, so let's dig into some of my wedding budget tips for you guys. So my very first tip has to do with flowers. Again, this is so individual to you. However, I really wanted to do greenery, and I highly recommend doing greenery because it's so much cheaper. And then I did my colors in other ways. So for me, I collected colored glass, like bottles and jars, and I used those on the for tablescapes. And then my bridesmaids were actually all different colors. I was going for jewel tones, didn't quite get the depth of jewel tones that I wanted, but I still loved how colorful my wedding was, even though I didn't do any colored flowers. So my bridesmaid had dark blue, so sapphire, and my other bridesmaids were yellow, red, and emerald green, and I loved it. So how did I do the flowers? Well, the bouquets, let's start there. I did get my bouquets professionally done. This is not something that I felt that I had the skill set to properly do those and have them look good and stay looking good for a long period of time. So I felt that that was worth investing in. So I had my bouquet and my bridesmaids' bouquets done. Now my bridesmaids' bouquets were just greenery, no flowers, because I figured they have really colorful dresses on. They really don't need that extra pop of color, but I wanted myself to tie in a little bit more. So my bouquet was obviously bigger, had tons of greenery, but that's the only place I had colored flowers, was in my bouquet. And then for the tablescapes and everywhere else, I just did greenery. Now, I did something interesting here, and this is not my original idea. A good friend of mine, she did this, was to, I don't know if you have a Kroger where you live, but we do have a ton of Krogers where I live. And it's a grocery store that you can buy flowers from bulk, which I didn't know you actually could do that. It's just a typical grocery store where you can like buy bouquets and stuff. So I never knew that you could buy the flowers in bulk. So I went there and I ordered Ruscus Israeli, or it's Israeli Ruscus. I don't know which way is correct, but that's the greenery I bought in bulk. Now this was not enough I think I ordered 70 bundles, and I think that was like the smallest option. Was it 70 bundles? It might've been $70. I don't know. You check out your local grocery store and what you're able to do. But this was so much cheaper than buying greenery in bulk from a florist. And what I did, because that wasn't going to be enough to cover everything. I mean, I would get some greenery on all the tables and stuff, but like I really wanted it to look luscious and full and just good. So a good friend of mine who actually was my go-to person the day of the wedding, her yard was filled with all different kinds of greenery, some on purpose, some not on purpose. It just came with the house. So her and I went through her yard, went through and thought, okay, this is pretty, this is pretty. We went ahead and cut those, and this was probably a couple weeks out from the wedding, and she let them lay out overnight and see which ones wilted quickly and which ones did not, and those are the ones that we went with. So then the morning of my wedding, I had nothing to do with it. She went through her yard and cut as much as she felt needed of the plants that did not wilt. And she made sure to put that in with the Israeli ruscus for all the decor. And it looked amazing. It was full and it was free. So if you're going with greenery, even if it's just, you're going to do flowers and greenery, ask around, because you might know someone with a huge yard full of plants that you can do that same technique with, which worked great for us. And I'm very, very blessed to know her for many reasons, but I was just really excited about the greenery. So, okay, second tip, compare your rentals. So one of our bigger investments, other than our videographer and photographer, was the big white tent that we rented for our reception. Now, I come from a smaller town and there's adjacent city, and there's kind of one place that everyone in the area typically goes to order or rent their party supplies, like huge white tents and tables and chairs. And originally I just figured, oh, that's just how much I'm gonna have to pay. And then I just felt inspired because I was looking at the budget, my money, and it was taking up way too much of it than I was comfortable with. And I started looking at the different rental companies in other counties. Now, the place that I found was about 45 minutes away, and they would have to deliver it, set it up. So I was a little unsure on if they would go out that far, and would it cost a lot more because they had to go out further and set up the entire tent. For me, it worked out super well. Now, the place that was local, they wanted double the amount that I paid for this place that I found 45 minutes away. Now, for some people, 45 minutes probably doesn't sound that bad if you live in a big city and are used to traffic. I'm from the country, so that was a decent amount of distance. So in my brain, I thought, there's no way they'd come, But yeah, I recommend look around and compare prices. Don't just settle with whatever is local. I do support local shopping. However, sometimes if you're on a budget and you can get it better somewhere else, that's awesome. And actually, the place that I found was family owned, and they're a really, really sweet couple. So it was a win-win situation. So my third tip has to do with your venue. Now, again, this is more of just telling you what I did. So we did our ceremony at a small church that was just about 2 miles down from our reception, which was great for us because we didn't want people traveling far in between. We were also doing a late ceremony because it was July. I was assuming it was going to be really hot that day, and I knew our reception was outside. So our ceremony was at 6:30, and then I didn't want people having to wait even longer for dinner. So they immediately went to the reception, and we had them start eating before we showed up because I didn't want anyone having to wait. Anyway, we'll talk about food in a little bit, but if you are interested in getting married in a church, I would recommend doing it in either the church you grew up in, you're attending it right now, or a family friend. So we knew the pastor of the church that we were getting married at, and it was just a smaller venue, a smaller building, so it wouldn't feel like our wedding was being swallowed by the building. So that was perfect for us personally. Now, our reception, we did not do in the same location. We did it at a family member's house who had a barn and a large property, and that's what I recommend you doing is ask around, or you probably already know, if any family members, friends of family members have a property that's absolutely beautiful. We probably spent the whole summer up into our wedding just landscaping, replanting flowers, just making the place look nice, redoing the barn a little bit and cleaning it up. It's worth the investment of cleaning it up to have a free venue, because that's a huge chunk of your budget right there. Okay, fourth tip is food. Now, from what I researched and figured out on my own, our cheapest option was a buffet. Now, I know if you go with a venue that has their own chefs, a lot of times you just get your food from there, which there's nothing you can do about that. And, there's a lot of receptions that I've gone to where I've absolutely loved that. It's really nice. It's fancy. They serve you. They take your plates away. Highly support if you can afford it. If you can't afford it and you're at someone's property for your reception, a buffet is a really great option. Now, how did I afford all of this? Well, one, family members pitched in, so we were really grateful for that money-wise. And then I was actually talking to a really good friend of mine and just talking about wedding planning and how I'm a little stressed out about the food and I don't know who's going to take care of it. And she offered. I didn't have to ask her, she just offered. And even better, the year before, we did a taco bar. She had done a taco bar for a wedding reception last year, so she already was prepared for it. We did tacos, like I said, because one, we love tacos, and two, it's just really simple ingredients that you can make a lot of, and all the ingredients weren't very expensive. So she got a lot of our ingredients from a local store that does bulk food. However, I suggest you invest in the most important part of the meal. And for us, that was the taco meat. So we did beef and chicken. And the bulk of our food was bought from a local grocer that does like food in bulk. And then this was bought from a small town local grocery that does bulk chicken and beef that you can order and pick it up in a couple weeks. So that's what we did, just because the meat that we would have bought from the bulk store, it wasn't as nice. And honestly, where we got our meat, it still wasn't very expensive for what we got. So I suggest investing in what's the most important. Now, dessert, we did not go with a wedding cake. Not that you can't, that's if you prefer that. One, if you just love cake, and two, if you prefer traditional, I completely understand. Maybe a suggestion for you there is to order a smaller tiered cake just for you and your husband to cut and then eat a year later if you'd like, and then have maybe a family member or whoever you're ordering from do sheet cake or cupcakes rather than a huge tiered beautiful cake, which again, if you have the budget for it, good for you. But that just brings the cost down. We did donuts. We love donuts. Donuts are so good. So we just got a few varieties of donuts, and from what I heard, I didn't hear any complaints. Everyone loved them. So I love them. They were perfect for our reception because you could carry it around. You weren't stuck at your seat. People were grabbing donuts and going to the dance floor. So it was just really mobile and perfect for us. Okay, my fifth tip, I think we're on 5, may or may not be. Anyway, is decorations. DIY everything that you can. It's just so much cheaper. And I think I mentioned this before when I talked about flowers, so I probably should have put these two together. I collected colored glass for months. I think it was like 6 months I collected colored glass. I just asked family and friends. I put out an ask on Facebook. It was like, hey, if you ever come across this certain color of glass, I would love to have it. And a lot of people helped me out with that, and that was perfect for me. Because I didn't do colored flowers on the tables, I wanted some kind of color. So that's what I did. I can't think of all the other decorations I did, but again, if you see something that you like, maybe on Pinterest, figure out how to do it yourself or ask someone to help you do it. I had to do that a few times where I've pulled in my stepdad or somebody who's good with wood to create something for me. So, and then Bryce and I, the table that we actually sat at for our reception, which is behind me right now, we already owned. It was ugly, and we just fixed it up, painted it white, stained the top gray. And then the other 2 tables, we actually were just regular white plastic tables, and we put tablecloths over them. But that was just one way that we like to just make our spot look extra special. So DIY everything. I highly recommend it. And we're in such a DIY world that nowadays our society just loves doing things ourselves. So it's gonna look great. My 6th has to do with photographers and videographers. Decide which one's more important to you, probably photography. And if both are important to you, shop around. So a lot of times a photographer also does videography. And we had that option, but the package was more expensive than going with someone separate to do our photography and someone separate to do our videography. This has to do with where you live or where you're going to do your ceremony. So there's really no advice I can give you other than to ask for recommendations from other people that have gotten married recently, and just recommendations in general. Because a lot of people are going to know who's good, who's not necessarily bad, but you just know there's a difference with a photographer that really helps you feel comfortable, and is helping you know how to pose or just have fun, So yeah, feel free to meet with multiple photographers and see how you jibe with them, because that's so important. The last thing you want is to feel awkward on your wedding day. And so shop around for a good photographer, someone that makes you feel comfortable, and the same thing for a videographer, and compare prices. Next is your planner. So for me, I'm a perfectionist, which I think I lucked out on for our wedding because I was pretty go with the flow that week. So I think God helped me out with that one. But I had a family friend be my, not necessarily planner, because I planned everything, but she was my go-to person the day of. So I updated her regularly, like 2 weeks up until the wedding, on what was going on. And then I had a schedule for the day. Of course, expect things to go off schedule. It's okay, but it's good to start with a schedule so you have something to work off of. So I had a schedule for her, and I had made sure that she met key people throughout the day. Like, hey, if something goes wrong, ask this person. If this person's not around, ask this person. I made sure my photographer, videographer, and my planner all had the same, had each other's numbers, and I sent each other their pictures so that they knew who was who. So just be thoughtful. Know that not everyone knows everybody at a wedding, and that can get really confusing. Something else just to keep in mind, which I can't remember if she helped out with this or not. I didn't expect her to because she did so much during the day, but have a plan for cleanup. Your family and friends that are probably the ones helping clean up your reception at the end of the night when you leave with your husband, they are not going to know what goes where. So I made sure in the barn that we had our reception in like a storage closet, I made sure people knew it was there. I taped up cleaning notes. Hey, this thing goes to so-and-so, because you're going to borrow a lot of stuff from family and friends. Things that you're going to use for your reception, for your wedding, whatever, you're going to borrow something. So just make a note of it on that paper. And then in inconspicuous areas on like decorations, like I borrowed some decorations from my sister-in-law, I made sure to put a little sticker on the bottom of whatever it was with her name on it, so that people made sure that everything got back to who it was supposed to get back to. If something was mine personally, I put my name on it, told everyone just leave it in the barn, we'll get it when we get back from our honeymoon. So just be thoughtful for the people that are cleaning up at the very end, because that is very confusing when no one knows where anything is going. And then lastly is your wedding size. This is the biggest part of your budget, is just how many people are gonna have. Again, you may have a huge family, you may have a ton of friends. I completely understand needing to have a large wedding. For us, small was best. And to be completely transparent, smaller is cheaper. It's less food, it's less tables, it's less chairs, it's a smaller tent that we have to rent. So just keep that in mind. And for us, there's a lot of people we didn't invite, and to be honest, I was transparent about it. I told people in person, and I made announcements on social media just saying, hey, we're doing a small wedding. We love everyone and appreciate all your support, but this is just what's best for us. And for us, people were really respectful of that. So if you need to do a smaller wedding because of your budget or for whatever other reasons, like for us, we just preferred it, just be honest about it and try to not make it weird. Be the first one to say something to somebody. So if there's someone in your life that you think might be offended that you're having a smaller wedding, reach out to them, let them know, hey, I love you. Thank you for all your love and support, but we have to do a small wedding, and I hate that I can't invite you, but it's going to be small, it's going to be intimate, just close family and a few friends. So proceed with caution, but that's what worked for me. And people seem to appreciate that I reached out. Now, again, I don't know who is in your life, so do what you think is best. But all right, so those are my personal recommendations. Those were the main things I thought of when I sat down and thought, okay, what were my main stressors when it came to my budget last year when I was planning? So I hope that was helpful. If you're wedding planning, good luck. You're gonna do great. It's gonna be beautiful no matter what. Just take a deep breath and know that everything's gonna be okay. I had to do that a few times too, so I completely understand. So let me know if you have any video requests. I really appreciate your comments. Feel free to subscribe. As you can tell, I'm a brand new YouTuber, so your subscribe would mean a lot to me. So I hope you have a great day. Bye.